What it is, YouTube? It's your boy DC coming back with another bullseye with a tutorial today on the channel. I wanted to show you guys how to achieve pro hip hop drums using the Orion plugin. So, it's been out for a little bit. I've been playing around with it and I wanted to give my opinion on it. Okay, so if you guys do like this video, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Down below, you want to support the channel, check the links. And in the comments, let me know what you think. So let's go right now. I'm just going to be showing you guys this drum loop that I'm working with, this pattern. So let's go. So you guys got an understanding of what I'm working here with today, some dope hip hop drums. So the most important thing I want to talk about is this Orion plugin. It's pretty cool. We all know the JAYCEN Joshua, God particle. We already know about that one. Now this, I guess, is like this is the one that came after. The God particle is made for the mix bus, and the Orion specializes for the drum bus. All right, so let's talk about this plugin. So first thing is the input. Now the input is something very important to understand, not just for this plugin but in general. Like a lot of the times rap drums will be coming in clipped up. So what I usually do is look at my clips, like look at the waveform. Like I pulled it down a couple of dB. Now as I'm mixing, the very first thing I do is my gain staging, right? And I don't know, people always talk about that shit, but me personally, I just pull it down a couple of dBs. Like I take all of the beat tracks, right, and I pull them down all to the same dB, because technically, if you got a beat where you exported everything correctly, all you got to do is, like, if you pull it down 4 dB, the beat should still be there ratio wise. You feel me? Like nothing, no fat or no blubber should be sticking out. The waist and the size, the ratio and the proportion should still be there. It should translate. You feel me? Like if you went to a travel to a different country and you was trying to change your dollars for pesos, okay, well the ratio or whatever of dollars to peso, it should be exchanged. You feel me? So $100 equals whatever amount of pesos. You feel me? So the same thing goes with the beat. So I pull down the beat tracks usually by like 10 dB, right? And that creates headroom, because when the beats are exported, they usually are like clipping, they're going over 0. So this plugin kind of integrates something like that. So yeah, I pull it down like 8 dB, right? And the first part is the drive section. Let's look at that. Something to be cognizant of is like the fact that the 808 is changing. Now, this doesn't only apply to this plugin, but also the master fader in general. When you're picking out a saturator, sometimes the saturator can change what is being emphasized on the low end. Like you might have an 808 that sounds like, and then you might sound like, because maybe the saturator that you're picking is now starting to emphasize maybe like the upper mid range a little bit more, or maybe the high end. Now it's starting to bring out a new part of the face of the bass. So that's one thing I kind of don't like about this plugin. To use it on the drum bus, I would probably take the 808 and put it on a separate bus, maybe just to the actual beat bus itself. But I kind of don't like what this plugin does to the low end of like a 808. I just don't like what it does. The color part specifically. The rest of the stuff is cool, but the color part, I just kind of don't like how it sounded like on this 808. I'm sure that maybe on another track, maybe it might work. It's like a 50-50 thing, but that's something to be aware of. Even when you put a saturator on your mix bus, you're trying to get some more color, you're trying to get some more seasoning, some more flavor. Pay attention to how maybe the 808 might change a little bit. Maybe it might emphasize a little bit more of the tubby low end, kind of like, somebody, if you got your girlfriend, you looking at her and she's like, oh, does this dress make me look fat? You feel me? Maybe sometimes the clothes that somebody wears, accentuates a different part of how they look. Same thing goes with this plugin and saturators in general. It might change the way a bass is shaped or it looks. All right, so the next thing I wanted to look at, for now, we'll just use the C. I guess it has a high pass part. I don't know why you'd want a high pass an 808 if you had everything going to the drum bus. Maybe if you have the kick going with all the percussions and stuff, okay, that makes sense. Depends on what you send to your drum bus. Then we have this harmonics thing right here. I guess this reminds me of our bass a little bit. Honestly, to me, I think it's our bass. This is pretty much like Jason Joshua's whole processing chain baked into one easy plugin. So let's see, you got the difference between 50 hertz and 80 hertz. So if you want to go a little bit lower and get a little bit of that tubby fat, on the chicken, on the rack of ribs, you go with 50. You want something a little higher, you go with 80. See, and if you pay attention right here, my drums are going over zero. So what I usually like to do is slap on a limiter. Yeah, you feel me? So it's not even tapping; it's just there, all right. And it's giving it a little bit of dithering too. Like if you bypass it. So that kind of makes your drums already hit hard. That's a secret using the L2 on the drum bus. You see, just when when all the drums come together, it creates an overshoot, right? So imagine like if you have a river and the water is slowly rising, and one day, boom, the water just becomes too much and it just busts. That's called an overshoot, pretty much, when you have all these audio things working at the same time and they stack and they clip. You feel me? So that's why I like to use the L2, sometimes even a clipper, for those things that jumble together. All right. So yeah, that's where the harmonics comes in. I feel like this would be plugin would be good on an 808 too. The 808, a sub bass, maybe not even the whole drum bus. So yeah, after that, that's what the harmonics does, especially if you use the harmonics. What's gonna do, the R bass is gonna create the information up there that isn't there. So that's what this part reminds me of. After that, you have the compression. What compressor does Jason Joshua usually use? He usually uses like the Shadow Hills mastering bus compressor, from what I recall. That's what he usually uses, or maybe like the Black Box HG2. Most important thing to know though, man, is like with the compression. I think compression on drums is cool. Depends on what it sounds like though. Depends on what compressor you're using. This one only has two different types of compression, and we don't know what type of compressor it is. We don't know if it's VCA, Verimu. We don't know if it's Opto. We don't know what it is. So that's kind of good because it makes you use your ears. But the most important thing to know is that with the compression, it's gonna pinch it. It's like your auntie when she sees you. Hello, your auntie gonna pinch your cheeks. You feel me? She gonna pinch it, and because she's pinching your cheeks, she's reducing the way your skin is stretching. So when you use compression on the drums, it reduces the way the drums are stretching. So it pretty much narrows the stereo imaging. That's something that's very important to know too, because if you use compression on your drums, it could be used as an effect to make it more mono, right? And because now the drums are being pinched, like your grandma pinching your cheeks, and now it's become smaller. Now it actually makes the music sound wider. So that's a dope trick to maybe use compression on drums. If you're trying to use compression like that, I tell you to use a transparent compressor, because the compressors, especially the analog model ones, they gonna change the way your drums sound. They're gonna change the way the 808 sound, depending on the components, depending on where the saturator, like if it has a transformer, if it has a tube, it's gonna emphasize, your kick and your bass. So that's why you gotta hear the whole thing together. All right. All right, so after that, you have the lift. To me, the lift sounds like it's a tilt filter. I know that on Jason Joshua's JC Joshua, oh my god, on Jason Joshua's template, like sometimes he'll have something like a shelf, you know. Um, he'll have something like a tilt filter too. I've seen a lot of times Jason Joshua have something like this. You feel me? Like shelving and boosting highs, type of like shifting energy upwards type of thing. So I assume that's what that is on the lift. I don't like how this sounds, and I don't usually try to make my drums sound brighter, because I usually use the fresh air on my mix bus. I usually this is like on a lot of my songs, and this right here, having this on your mix bus will make your drums brighter and more pro and more mainstream. I know the FL Studio people, they even do this too. So maybe you working with a rap drum, and maybe it already has this baked into it before. So that's why it's important to use your ears and know what plugins are hot right now. Man, that makes a dramatic difference, the fresh air. I know a lot of FL Studio producers use that too. They use the fresh air, you know? So, me personally, when do I bring in the mix bus? I actually make this shit sound good first. I actually make the real drums and the real rough mix actually sound good. Then I bring in the mix bus. You feel me? In it goes hand in hand. The drum bus and the mix bus together, they go hand in hand. You feel me? As you're building the mix, you're hearing everything. All right. So I think that's cool that Orion can, come in there and definitely, provide some value in the sense that everything is already here. You don't got to do the individual stuff, on the different tracks and shit. After that, you have this harmonic EQ, and obviously we already know that's obviously uh, Spectre. That's obviously Spectre. The concept, I feel like, is Spectre. So that's pretty dope. And you have all these fixed bands and stuff like that. And that's cool because you can make a part of the drum sound heavier, right? So it's kind of like biasing shit, right? Maybe I want my hi-hats to hit a little bit harder. So rather than just EQing it, I'm doing a little bit of the harmonic parallel Spectre shit, and that's making it feel heavier too. So it's kind of like a great way, if you got a drum loop, to rebalance your loop. You feel me? Maybe it feels like the ass is heavy, the bottom is heavy. Now you want to make maybe the shoulders a little bit thicker. So that's what you would use a thing like this, thinking about density, area, and the thickness, and the size and the shape of things, throughout the spectrum type shit. So for me, this is cool, but I prefer Spectre because I can really like change my frequencies, but this is still cool too. So maybe you want to add a little bit of air to your drums. Just be delicate with this. I would not push this too far, bro, because it's affecting everything. Hi-hats, a little bit of snares. It's touching even the 808, the top end frequency in the 808. Maybe it has like a little, certain 808s have a little bit of airiness to them. It's affecting that too. So I wouldn't touch this too much. Just know if you want the kick to hit harder, do 100 hertz. If you want the bottom to feel a little bit bigger, maybe 40 hertz. Maybe the snare, depending 3K. This is like your hi-hat, your snare. A little bit of that. After that, you kind of have like a Michael Brower type of style, a bunch of little parallel processors like the sub, the low, the loud, the grid. These are like parallel chains that Jason Joshua has. I kind of really don't care for them, honestly. I feel like this plugin is great. I would much prefer to use it on kick and bass though. I wouldn't want to use this plugin on a whole drum bus, just because I know for sure that the whole drum bus, every sound is unique. The bounce has to be maintained. And sometimes plugins like this, with all this saturation and all this compression, can really make things feel uniform. And because maybe like the drums all feel uniform tonally, now they don't separate as much. Because using different tones and different flavors and different spices and seasonings is a way that you create separations in the drum. That's how you get that back and forth bouncing and movingness. Because maybe one thing is gritty, maybe the other thing is soft, maybe the other thing is hard, maybe the other thing is edgy. You know what I mean? So let's just see what the plugin sounds like bypassed in and out. yeah, I definitely think there's use for a plugin like this, but currently I'll probably just stick to my chain, which is the God Particle. I use the God Particle on my drums, and I use like a limiter, so really fast. I don't want this video to take forever, but this is what I usually do. Boom, all the drums hitting the limiter, just like how you see me use the L2. I like Ozone Maximizer because I get an upwards compressor and a soft clipper, and then I finish that bitch off with a God Particle. I get my nice squeeze that kind of narrows the stereo imaging. Then I get the God Particle, which gives that mid-range bump with the lows and stuff like that. So it's a pretty much dope video here today. I just want to show you guys how I like to achieve pro rap drums and shit like that. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe down below. You want to support the channel? Well, go ahead and check the links. Let me know what you think in the comments. Suggest more video ideas, all right? Just say I want to say I appreciate you guys a lot, my YouTube gang. Peace.